Hello and how are you? Welcome to my channel. So we're going to be continuing from the video we did a few weeks ago about Cebuano, and specifically we're going to talk about Cebuano grammar. So today we will be focusing on the particles si and ang and how they're used in a sentence. As a beginner, as a learner, you'll be focusing on these particles because they're probably the most important elements of the grammar. So there are about 7 noun particles that function similar to cases. Remember the case video I talked about a few weeks ago? So the various cases, the si, ang, ni, kang, i, sa, and og, all have very specific functions, and the person who learns Cebuano has to really focus and get these right, because you could actually end up miscommunicating and causing confusion if you do not master these properly. So let's take a look. So for today, we'll focus on the 2 important ones. These are probably the first ones you will encounter, si and ang, because these are the nominal or nominative forms of the case markers. So it's used primarily to show focus. So any part of a sentence that is focused, any part of a noun phrase that is focused will have the si or ang. Let's take a look. So the focus markers, si, is used for proper names, generally the names of peoples, and I think sometimes even the names of pets. I think people like to use that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And for ang, it's usually used for nouns, any kind of noun, table, chair, mountain, planet, things like that will have ang. And both of these markers, si and ang, are used to mark things that are focused, nouns that are in focus. Whether it doesn't matter what they are, whether it's the subject, whether it's the object, whether it's the location, as long as it's in focus, it takes si or ang. Let's take a look at some examples. Now, you think of a Cebuano sentence as a short story, and every story needs a topic, like what is it about, right? So this is about traveling. Now imagine you have a tourist named Maria, and she's lost. She wants to ask people, where is the train station? So when she says this sentence, where is the train station? What is the topic? The train station. There's only one noun phrase in this whole sentence. Where is the train? So the train station becomes the topic. So in Cebuano, the train station must take the prefix, or the particle rather, ang, because it's not a person's name, right? It's a place. It's a noun that's not a proper name. So therefore, you put ang. So let's take a look at some more examples.
Asa man ang istasyon sa tren?
Asa man ang istasyon sa tren?
Asa man ang istasyon sa bus?
Asa man ang istasyon sa bus?
What if Maria says, I'm lost? So, in this context, right, the subject is always marked with ang. So, for example, nawala ang turista. So, when I talk about Maria now, we're talking from the perspective of somebody seeing Maria lost. Nawala ang turista. So, she's gotten lost. So, you see, the verb comes at the beginning, nawala, and then ang turista. The tourist is lost, right? You can also say, I think you can say ang turista nawala as well, but I think more commonly you put the verb at the beginning, right? Now, you can also say nawala si Maria. Notice that you say nawala ang turista. Why? Because turista is a normal noun. Anybody can be a tourist, any tourist. But a specific person with a special name, in this case Maria, you say si Maria. Nawala si Maria.
Ang akong pitaka gikuot.
Ang akong pitaka gikuot.
Okay, so in this case, the sentence is ang akong pitaka gikuot. And the reason is because akong pitaka means my wallet. So ang akong pitaka, the subject of the sentence, the topic is my wallet. So it's my wallet that has been stolen. That's it. Now, what if Maria lost her husband? How would we say it, right? So in this case, the focus noun at the beginning of the sentence, all right, is usually marked with ang or si. So you look at something like this. Ang yang bana maoy nawala. Ang yang bana maoy nawala. Which means her husband, it was her husband. Her husband was the one who was lost. So ang is marked again because her husband, that's the word husband is a common noun, right? Now, if we substitute this phrase, like her husband, with a name like Carlos, then you cannot use ang, you have to use si. So, si Carlos maoy nawala. So it was Carlos that was lost, or that got lost, right?
Ang bayranan palihog.
Ang bayranan palihog.
So again, because the word bayranan, which means bill, has been fronted, it's the topic, the subject. Can I please have the bill? Bill, please. You're asking for that. So that is sort of the topicalized or the main noun in the sentence. So, ang bayranan palihog. So that's why it's marked with ang. All right, there's another function, which is the with quantities or measurements. So ang can also be used to indicate quantities, measurements. For example, ang abang, 500 ang bulan. So you can say the rent is 500 per month. So you see, ang abang is rent, 500 is 500, and ang bulan is the moon or the month. So 500 the month, but in this case the ang doesn't really mean it's the topic. It connects the measure words together. So 500, it's 500 a month, basically. It's like this. And now let's look at the focus system. So what happens is this: when a sentence has the agent in focus, if you watch my video a few months ago about Austronesian focus, the exact same thing happens in Tagalog and other Philippine languages, as well as in Taiwanese languages, and some languages in Indonesia and Malaysia. But for the most part, the system is quite similar, but there are slight variations depending on the language or the dialect. So what we're learning now is the system used in Cebuano, which is slightly different from the one in Tagalog, for example. So let's see. So if you want to focus the agent, now in this sentence here, you have a woman who is writing something, right? She's writing something in her room. She's using a pen to write. Now that's very important. Now we need to know is who is doing the action, and we want to focus on it. So in this case, if we want to say Maria is writing a letter, so we're talking about Maria, we're not talking about anybody else, we're not talking about her husband, not talking about her children, we're talking about Maria. You must say misulat si Maria og sulat. Okay, I use the word sulat here so that you can see the connection with the verb to write. To write and letter comes from the same root. So misulat is the way you say it in the past and the present tense. So we'll just keep things in the past tense to make it easier. Alright, so Maria, si Maria, because she's the one doing the action and she's the one that we are talking about. And a letter can be any letter, we don't really care, we don't talk about Maria. Well, we say the woman wrote a letter, so misulat ang babae og sulat. So in this case, you have the word ang babae because it's a woman, it's not a person's name, whereas Maria is a person's name. So this is how it works, okay? Let's look at some more examples. Now, if we want to focus on the object instead, what is she writing? So she's writing a letter, right? So we want to focus on the letter. So we change the verb, just like in Tagalog, just like in other languages in the Philippines and in Taiwan. So you have to say, Maria wrote the letter would be gisulat. Gisulat ni Maria ang sulat. So written by Maria ang sulat. So you see now the letter takes the ang because the letter is the one that's under focus. That's the one that is being talked about more. The letter here is more important than Maria in this case. Okay. You could also say, if you do not know her name, but you just say the letter is important and it's being written by a woman. So the woman wrote the letter, right? We don't know her name, but we know the letter is important. Therefore, gisulat sa babae ang sulat. So in this context here, the ang sulat is always marked with ang because that's the important object you want to focus on. We don't care so much about the person doing it. We want to talk about the letter. This is very important in our story. Okay? So what if we add a new character? So what if we're talking about the location or the receiver? So she's writing something and going to send it somewhere to someone. So her friend who is far away, but we want to talk about the friend. We don't see her now, but she's somewhere in the background, far away, right? But she's the one that's going to receive the letter. So you say, Maria wrote a letter to Nancy. We want to focus on Nancy. So you say, gisulatan ni Maria si Nancy ok sulat. So you're writing the letter to Nancy. So she's marked with C. Which is a name. She's the important one. The less important one is the writer, Maria. So it becomes ni Maria, and oksulat is a letter. We don't really care, about Maria and the letter, but we will talk about Nancy. She's important to our story. Or we know Nancy, we don't know Maria. So that's how it goes. And if, let's say, we're talking about a woman who is writing to Nancy, right? The woman wrote a letter to Nancy. We don't care who. We don't care. We want to talk about Nancy. We are using a common noun, so it's not a person's name. You have to say gisulatan sa babae ni Nancy ok sulat. So it's gisulatan sa babae si Nancy ok sulat. So in this case here, you use the word si Nancy, but we say sa babae because the particle ni and is used specifically for people's names, and we'll look at this in later videos. All right, and finally, we have one more focus, which is the instrument focus. This one I understand is not so commonly used in modern Cebuano, but correct me if I'm wrong. But it works like this. What is she writing with? She's writing with a pen or pencil. All right, we want to focus on the pencil. We don't care about the person writing in a letter so much. We're talking about the pencil. Maybe the pencil is in the house right now and you know the pencil and it was taken from you by her. So we're talking about the pencil, the topic. So Maria wrote the letter with the pencil. So now in the past tense, it's the same as the object focus. Gisulat ni Maria ang lapis o sulat. This is slightly different in other tenses, so we will put it in the past tense first, all right? Now, if you want to say, the woman wrote a letter with the pencil, same thing, gisulat sa babae ang lapis o sulat. So again, the word pencil is marked with ang. So lapis is pencil, it's from Spanish, ang lapis. Okay, and that's about it. And that's pretty much an introduction to the usage of si and ang. And we'll look at all the other particles. Yeah, so feel free to write to me and let me know if you have any comments, any questions, any criticisms. These will be sort of the topic for the next few weeks. We're going to focus on the other particles ni, kang, i, sa, and og. All right, thank you and bye for now.